And I'd like to start by, I'm going to put the agenda up there and then ask Councilman Rustin to lead us in our invocation.
Sure, let us pray. Dear God, thank you so much for the opportunity to join tonight. Lord, thank you for the beautiful weather we've gotten today. And Lord, just thank you for the rain and the change of seasons. God, we thank you for what's going on in the city right now. Lord, I ask you, Lord, just let it continue in a positive direction for the people that protect it, make it grow, and just for the citizens together, God. And Lord, as we enter this spring and summer season, I ask you that it just be a fruitful season for the city. And let the things be discussed tonight in the meeting be for the benefit of those in the city. And your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So as you're continuing to review the agenda, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Lilly.
Here.
Mizell.
Here.
Rustin.
Here.
King.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here. And it looks like all are present, so we have quorum. And I'll give you a few more minutes to look at the agenda. We have a lot of resolutions and ordinances to go over tonight, so we'll try to get through that rather quickly. Okay, as usual, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 21 regular council meeting. The council members have been given a copy of those minutes to review, so are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Okay, there being none, let the record show that the minutes were approved by unanimous consent. And the next thing on our agenda is our department head reports. We don't have the fire department represented here tonight. However, everything's looking pretty good. But two things on there that are mainly one thing, and the other one is hopeful, that it's a big deal, is we received the award for the SAFER grant. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the mayor's report. So that's a big deal. It's going to really help us to recruit volunteer firefighters, to train and equip them. So we're really excited about that. So is there any questions about the fire department? The other item I put up there, I'm sorry that I didn't mention this, we also have a assistance to firefighters grant pending. I'm going to talk about that during the mayor's report. And hopefully, if we're successful with that grant, it'll help us to fund a new pumper truck for the fire department. Now, any other questions or comments? Okay. If not, the library.
We're doing pretty good. Everything looks good. Our traffic was really good for March. We had an estimated 1,180 visitors for the month of March. We had one program that we had 43 people show up to. So we're really excited about that. For the month of February, we did provide $34,835 in services. That is down from February 2022. The family reading fair that I attended a few weeks back was good despite the cold and the wind. Got a lot of exposure for Columbiana Public Library. The Homeschool Expo at Highlands College also had a good turnout. They had great exposure for not just us, but also for the Shelby County Libraries as a whole. A lot of interest in what we offered for homeschoolers. We're still going and still trucking and still doing what we do.
Okay. You guys got any questions for Jennifer?
1,100 visitors. That's pretty good, right? That's a lot compared to.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
It's good.
Even though circulation is down just a little bit, that's great numbers.
Awesome.
Okay. Environmental services.
Everything's been going pretty good as far as injuries, the budget. We're still advertising for grade 2 that's operated for the treatment plant. Compliance is good. one of my reports will be later on in the meeting tonight for our yearly overview of the treatment plant. We started our training. We've got some training coming up in May. So me and Chris, since he's got his certification, we're going to be doing some training for that. Issues and concerns, we've had issues, with the gas lines on Center Street and Goodwin Street not being located properly. They ran into another one today. So
Did they break it? I'm sorry, to interrupt, did they break it?
Yes. So Spire came out, repaired that. We notified Chief Howard to be on standby in case something happened. So we remained on site with the construction company for a good while till Spire showed up. So they got that repaired. So they've made it from Thompson Street to Johnson Street. So they've got about 200 more feet of sewer line to lay right there. And one more manhole to set. So hopefully that project will finish up the next week or so, if the rain permits. Then we've got some issues with our service truck, our crane truck that we pull pumps with. The engine's going out in it. It's one of the real good Ford trucks. It's got a 6.0 Power Stroke in it, so it's been in and out of the shop. So we're either gonna have to look for an engine or at least a chassis to put our equipment over onto eventually. I don't know how much longer it'll last.
Questions for Dale? I'll talk a little bit more about the Center Street and the gas lines and stuff in my report as well, in addition to the paving issues associated there, so. Okay, if there's no other questions there, we'll move on, I think. There we go. Community Affairs and Senior Services.
All right, so for community services, this Saturday is Main Street Columbiana's Carrot Chase Fun Run. It is a 1 mile run. It'll start on Main Street, and kids will get to chase a carrot, so that should be really fun. So Main Street, South Main will be closed from 9:30 to 11:30 for the race. We don't anticipate it will take that long for those kids to run that mile, but just in case, that's what we told all of the businesses on South Main. Touch a Truck is April 15th. That will be in Old Mill Square Park. And Music on Main Farmers Market will start June the 2nd. And we'll do Music on Main all of June.
Do you have any entertainment lined up?
We did, so we booked the Cash Domino Killers for, they cover like 50s, 60s music, so that should be really fun. And then today I booked the Step Bands, so we'll work on 2 more.
Okay.
So, for senior services, they served 1,150 meals in February. We found out today that we got the Shelby County Senior Grant, so that's good. And then also I found out yesterday that M4A, the state Senior Services did not award the meal contract to the company that has it now. So that's good news
great
for us.
news.
So hopefully in June, we will get a new company to provide those meals. So that's great stuff. The
So-
grant, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting before you
That's okay.
finish. I
For the Grand
apologize.
Hall, we have 7 rentals scheduled in April. And the last of the work to do there is they're gonna install the ticket booth counter this week and they will be done. So, good stuff.
Any questions for Ally? So the question I have is about the meals.
Mhm.
Is it Meals on Wheels as well as what you serve at the
Yes,
senior
so
center?
they're all the same.
Okay.
So, Meals on Wheels just get packed like into a little, kind of looks like a frozen meal container and sent out that way, so.
Where you want to put speed bumps?
Oh, I didn't even mention that. So those shipped this week, and those will go in our parking lot. And Al's gonna re-stripe all of the parking spaces and add some ADA spaces across, the parking lot. So those will go to slow some traffic down, just to keep our seniors safe when they're crossing through.
Go all the way across the lot, all the way across.
So it'll
So,
be 2
bad.
rows of speed bumps.
so the plan is to put what she just said, 2 rows of speed bumps. It'll be one, what's that street over there by the Chevron? What's the name of that street?
Is-
Milner?
Milner.
Okay, I thought you said Mildred. I was gonna say, no, it's not. Okay, so there'll be one near where traffic comes in off of that, and then there'll be another one just beyond where the provincial pub is in that parking area, so there'll be 2 of them. We also probably need to put some signage up so that people don't come flying around the curb and hit speed bump and not know that they're there, so we'll get that taken care of too.
It'll definitely slow them
That's
down
what I was
if they
just
hit it
gonna
one
say.
time.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
say.
I just, again,
Yeah.
I think it would be appropriate to put some signage up. But if they're like me, they'll never read those signs anyway, so. Yeah, any other questions for Ally? Okay. All right, board reports. Now, my calendar said there was a library board meeting, was there?
No, we meet every other month. so
Every other month.
We'll be
And you've
meeting
told me
on
that, so I need to
25th.
change,
Yeah.
I need to change my calendar. So I don't think there's been any others, have there been?
We met last night.
Did you? This, our beautification board did?
The beautification board met last night. We just went over, it was sort of a short and sweet meeting because we were exhausted from the Easter Bunny tea. That was a huge success, even though it was the last weekend of spring break. We didn't sell quite as many tickets. We were probably 30 tickets down, but you would never have known it. There were so many kids there. It's a lot of work, but it was great. The Grand Hall looked great. Everybody enjoyed it. And it's a lot of work, but like little girls will leave and say, oh my gosh, this was the best day ever. So, it just makes it worth it. I think it's a great event for our community. We are excited and very thankful for the bushes that were, the
Yeah.
shrubbery that has been cut down at the cemetery. We've gotten lots of comments about how good that looks. We of course need to go back and cut some more and hopefully the grass will come in. We have a cleanup day, April the 22nd, and we're really gonna focus in that area of the cemetery between, City Hall and the old cemetery. And then we're really gonna focus on Washington Street, by the schools and stuff like that. So we've got some projects, future projects that we want to collaborate maybe with Park and Rec and the athletic boosters over there on Washington Street to do some wildcat stuff and try to have some community pride and spirit. We're doing some stuff for Liberty Day. We just have lots of little projects coming up. We're excited that the Arbor Day tree ordinance and all that's being done. So we had a great meeting. We're all tired though.
And if anybody, like churches or schools or groups, will you please come out and help us on the 22nd cleanup? Because we want to do all around the city, and there's a lot of things that need to be done, and you would be surprised how much garbage there is to be done.
Yes.
So I encourage you, you have any groups or anybody that you can spread the word to, please get them to come and help us.
And we do also have another position open. If you know of anyone that would be interested in working and has great ideas, we are a working board and we do have another spot and we would love to have somebody.
Okay. Any questions for the beautification board? All right, thank you. Okay, so the first resolution that we have on the agenda today is the Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Program. And this is what you spoke of, Dale. So why don't you get up and explain the purpose behind this, and we'll go from there.
So the MWPP report is all of our yearly data where we discharge our water to the tributaries of Alabama from the wastewater treatment plant. So it goes from January to December of last year. So we have to put all that data in this report, submit it to ADM. We actually get scored on this. I don't have it right here in front of me. It's in that in that packet Charlene's got. but, it's got satisfactory, actions that need to be taken, actions that need to be taken by city council. So we're in the satisfactory range. We had a real good score on our report. Every municipality that has a wastewater treatment plant has to prepare these reports. It deals with, all of our E. coli's, total suspended solids, the oxygen demand, like our water we're putting into the stream, if, the oxygen demand is high or low. So we have all these requirements that's on our DMRs we do monthly. So that's a discharge monitoring report we submit once a month. So that's just a yearly breakdown of all our lab reports and stuff.
Just a quick question, the sewer treatment upgrades, repairs and upgrades that we plan on doing, would it have any impact on future output and scores, perhaps improve it, I think, or?
Yes, so with the upgrades we're gonna do to the treatment plant, our numbers will get a lot better. Right now, we're required to move 85% of what's coming in. Right now, we're moving anywhere from 95 to 98%. So the old plant's still doing its job, it's just, we could have that one upset at any time. So yes, the numbers will get better.
Okay. So 95 to 98 is satisfactory.
Wow.
That's a pretty tough standard. Okay. Well, I guess it's better that be tough. So, so if there aren't any questions, are there any questions from the council? If not, I'll read the last paragraph. So let it be resolved that the City of Columbiana does adopt the above actions, which are set forth in this resolution, into its municipal water pollution prevention program. So is there a motion to adopt resolution 42301?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and let me have acknowledgement by those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, so let the record show that the resolution was adopted by unanimous consent of the council. Now, some of these things are going to get hard to read coming later on, but this one is a resolution required for participation in the Municipal Workers' Compensation Fund. We had previously used a private workers' compensation insurance carrier, is that not correct? And they chose not to renew our insurance. So there is a fund that's supported by the state, the Municipal Workers' Compensation Fund. And so we have switched our workers' compensation insurance over to that municipal fund, Municipal Workers' Compensation Fund, and they require this resolution that the council has agreed to participate in that fund. So, again, I'll read the last paragraph. Any questions before I do that? Okay, so be it resolved that the City of Columbiana does wish to join the Municipal Workers' Compensation Fund for its workers' compensation insurance coverage. And is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and signify approval by all in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed? And you can let the record show that the resolution was passed with unanimous consent of the council. Okay, so now we have a safety resolution, and essentially what we've done here is we now have appointed a, what's the title we're calling her? Just a, what?
Safety coordinator.
Safety coordinator. And it's Frances Allen, who's our assistant city clerk. She has some past experience both in government as well as in private industry as far as safety is concerned, so she has agreed to act as our safety coordinator for the city. Is there any question or discussion regarding that? If not, Be it resolved that the City of Columbiana passes this safety resolution and appoints a safety coordinator, which is Francis Allen. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And signify approval by aye. Aye. Opposed? And you can let the record show that the resolution was passed with unanimous consent. I'm sure you can all read this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to kind of go over the highlights. This is an ordinance to establish an arts and entertainment district in the city of Columbiana. In essence, what that will do is with those within the arts and entertainment district, and I'm going to skip forward and show you the map of the area that's included here. So for those in the arts and entertainment district that possess liquor licenses, it will allow within that district the open carry of alcoholic beverages. Those beverages will have to be in a special container that each one of the participating establishments will have that will identify that they are part of the Columbiana Entertainment District, which we have decided to designate it as Columbiana Live District. And I'm going to go ahead and try to read some of the highlights off of here. So it says, any on-premise retail alcoholic beverage licensee who receives an arts and entertainment district designation from the Alabama Alcoholic Beverage Control Board shall comply with all laws, rules, regulations that govern this license type. The hours for the entertainment district will be from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, which means that on the sidewalks inside that district, if you have one of the approved containers, that you can carry an open alcoholic beverage. And it'll be from noon to 10:30 p.m. on Saturday. You can have no more than one open container of alcoholic beverage, and you can only consume it within the confines of the entertainment district. So for the licensees who serve alcoholic beverages, for you to be able to remove one from their premises, it can only be in a paper or plastic cup that bears the Columbiana Live District logo. And you cannot remove any alcoholic beverage in a can, bottle, a glass container. With an exception, if any of these establishments should set up outdoor tables and seating on the sidewalk or in a covered area adjacent to their establishment, then obviously inside those areas they can serve in whatever type of container that they would normally serve in. You cannot possess any open container on the streets, rights-of-way, parking lots, or outdoor public areas which exceed 16 fluid ounces in size. So the containers will be 16 ounces or less. And there is a prohibition. You can't consume it on the streets. There's an exception to that. I'll get to that in a minute. You cannot consume it in parking lots or inside a vehicle. And the exception is that the mayor shall have the right of identifying special events in which you could have the authority on city streets and right-of-ways to carry an open container. And that would be something like Liberty Day, where we have activity on the street. So you wouldn't have to stay on the sidewalk. You could walk up and down the street during those special events. And I think that kind of sums up the gist of the ordinance. Are there any comments or questions?
You have to have the special cup though to walk up.
You do have to have the special cup. You cannot put it in your own cup, and that's to preclude people from, bringing alcoholic beverages and of their own and consuming them in the entertainment district, which would be a violation, and they could be cited for that. So, any other questions or comments? I think that pretty much sums it up.
This is similar to Clanton and Helena's too, right? The ordinance.
Yeah, so this was a pretty much, was Clanton what we used as the template or Helena?
Clinton.
Clanton, that's what I thought, so. And Josh Allen, who works in the firm that our city attorney works in, is the city attorney for Atlanta, and he pretty much drafted this for Atlanta, for Clanton. And so he drafted this. Any other questions? I'm going to go back here for a second. I know you can't read that, so I'm going to read it to you if there are no questions. Be it resolved that the City of Columbiana does adopt the above ordinance. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 042304?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And I'd like to do a roll call vote for this one.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
No.
Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so let the record show that the ordinance was passed by a majority vote of the council. Okay, I know you can't read this one either, so I'm going to try to hit the highlights of this. This is the municipal tree ordinance, and this is associated with an initiative on the city's part, I think led by the Beautification Board, to make Columbiana a tree city on public property. The City Council herein delegates the authority and responsibility for managing public trees, creates a tree advisory board. That advisory board will be a subset of the beautification board that's already established. It establishes the practices governing and the planting and care of trees on public property, and makes provision for the emergency removal of trees on private property under certain conditions. So as far as authority and responsibility, the Public Works Director or their designee shall have the full authority and responsibility to plant, prune, maintain, and remove trees and woody plants growing in or upon all municipal streets. I've already mentioned the creation of the Tree Advisory Board. And there's a whole bunch of information about tree care standards. There's a prohibition against harming public trees, and the adjacent owner responsibility. It says the owner of land adjacent to any city street or highway, when acting within the provisions of this ordinance, may plant and maintain trees in the adjacent parkway area. No property owner shall allow a tree or other plant growing on his or her property to obstruct or interfere with pedestrians or the view of drivers, thereby creating a hazard. And if an obstruction persists, the director shall notify the property owner, and the city will take whatever steps necessary. There's a provision in here if a tree is declared a nuisance because of limbs falling in the street or on private property. Obviously, there's a appeals process, and we can repeal the ordinance, obviously, within our normal process. So are there any questions about the municipal tree ordinance?
Yeah, I have a question. Just when it talks about harming, is that a matter of opinion, or is there guidelines in terms of what's considered harm? Because we're not horticulturalists, you know?
Right, so the intent is to have our Public Works Director to receive the training and education, and the Forest Service will help us with that, to help us understand the proper way to maintain and prune the trees and that sort of thing. Any other questions?
I do like the provision about line of sight for cars.
Yeah, I think that's overdue, probably. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I'm going to skip to the last line then. So, be it resolved that the City of Columbiana does adopt the ordinance. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 042305 municipal tree ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and since this is an ordinance, let's do the roll call, please.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes. Okay, so let the record show that the ordinance was passed with unanimous consent of the council. Now, there is a proclamation, so part of becoming a national tree city, in order to get that designation right away, we have to make a proclamation in recognition of Arbor Day. And you correct me if I don't get this right, but the state of Alabama recognizes Arbor Day on a different day than the National Arbor Day, and that was in February. And we had a tree giveaway during that day. But in order for us to satisfy the requirements to get the recognition of a tree city, it's my intent to pass this proclamation that the city of Columbiana is going to recognize April 28th as Arbor Day, which is the National Arbor Day. So we get 2 times this year. And a lot of this says the same stuff that was said in the tree ordinance. So now therefore, I, David Mitchell, Mayor of the City of Columbiana, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day and encourage each citizen to participate in tree planting activities that day. So let it be proclaimed. Do you plan any other tree activities like the
We
last?
don't on this day, no.
Okay. All right, so we will need to see if we can't, as a city, find something that we can do on Arbor Day to make sure that we promote the tree planting activities to obviously satisfy the intent, if you will. So we'll do that, and I will get with Alan and we'll sort all that out. Okay? So another proclamation is proclaiming April 2023, this month, as Fair Housing Month. And I think I've got some information on that one too, don't I? You've got the proclamation.
It's just a proclamation.
So let me see that one, please. Okay. I'm going to read this. I don't normally read these things in full, but it says, whereas April 11th, 2023 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing for all who live in the United States, and whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin, and whereas fair housing is a positive community good, and whereas economic stability, community health, and human relations in all communities are improved by diversity and integration, whereas fair housing is integral to the ethical commitment of the members of the National Association of Realtors and the Birmingham Association of Realtors, and is critical to the ability of all real estate professionals to serve their clients and customers. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness, we, the City Council of the City of Columbiana, Alabama, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in Columbiana, to establish Columbiana as an inclusive community to fair housing and to promote appropriate activities by private and public entities intended to approve or advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of Columbiana. Now, we don't normally vote on these, but this was the City Council. Should we have a vote? What would you say is sort of our parliamentarian?
We don't have to, not on the
Okay.
proclamation.
Well, let me ask this. Is there any objections to the proclamation?
No.
Okay, good. So I didn't think there would be. So there being no objections, it has been proclaimed that April 2023 is Fair Housing Month in Columbiana. Are there any, is there any comment or discussions from anybody about this? Okay, very good. We shall move on. There's a couple of items that I've added to the other business agenda. One is, we talked about last time, the appointment of a voting delegate to the Alabama League of Municipalities Convention. And as of now, I think I'm the only one attending, but if not, are there any other nominations for a voting delegate to the ALM convention?
I think you would be perfect.
Okay, is that a nomination?
Yes, it is.
A second.
Okay, let's vote by signature approval with aye,
Wow.
and opposed? That's probably the only time I've ever got a unanimous vote for anything, so. Okay. There is another thing that I wanted to put up here, April is also National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and some of you may have seen the banners that we have on Main Street, and you may have seen the blue pinwheels and things that the beautification board, I assume, or was it Main Street? Main Street, I apologize, put into the, pardon?
It was the Owens house.
In the Owens house, okay, great. Put into the flower beds and whatnot. And normally we would have a proclamation on this, and not sure why we didn't. So I did a little research today. The president issued a proclamation. Unfortunately, this is my opinion, it was a politically charged proclamation focused on transgender youth, and I felt like that it sort of neglected the overarching issue of child abuse. You know, I believe that all life is precious. It's the greatest gift that God has given us, and those of us who are parents have been charged with the responsibility of raising children, but unfortunately some children are subjected to very unfortunate abuse. So it's my intention to proclaim April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month for the city of Columbiana, and we will adopt a formal proclamation and adopt it at the next council meeting. So any questions or comments on that?
It's good.
Okay. All right, report. So I mentioned the FEMA grant for staffing for adequate fire and emergency response. That's the SAFER grant. That was awarded this week. The interesting thing, this was 2021 funds, and we applied for the grant in February of 22. And more than a year later, we finally were notified of award, and I've been bugging that poor gal from FEMA regularly, when are we going to hear? And wanting to know, were we still in the running? She said, if you haven't been told no, then you're still in the running. And lo and behold, we got the grant. So $292,710. There's no matching funds required. That's a lot of money, but it's $135,000 less than what we asked for. The purpose of this is recruiting and retention of our volunteer firefighters. We put in there as a goal to recruit an additional 20 volunteer firefighters, and it's also focused on the retention of those firefighters. It'll actually allow us, it'll pay for having a retention and recruiting coordinator for up to 3 years to help us make sure that once we get these folks on board that we can keep them, as well as keep the ones that we have. It pays for the physicals for the new recruits, not the recurring physicals of the existing volunteer firefighters. It pays for the training of the new recruits. It pays for their personal protective equipment and turnout gear. Quite expensive, the gear is, and so we're going to have to sort of adjust the way we had proposed to allocate funding, because we had asked for, I think, $429,000 or somewhere around there. But we've got 292, which is significant. We're proud to have that, and I think that's going to do a lot for helping us to maintain what I think is already an excellent volunteer fire department. Did you have a question about that, Kim? You looked serious. I put on here,
Deep thought. She may want to be a volunteer fire after this.
I put on here FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant. It's pending, because that's a big one. Hopefully we'll have success with that one as well. To help us get a new pumper truck, we asked for $666,666.66. And I didn't like all those sixes, and so I rounded it up to 67. And our match is 5% of that is $33,000.
We must have found a truck we liked that was that price.
And so, well, what we found was $700,000, but we have to match 333, so our grant came out to that number. So hopefully we'll get that, because those trucks are, as you can tell, incredibly expensive.
That's a great deal.
It is. So hopefully we'll get that one. That's not in the bank yet, obviously, and hopefully it won't take more than a year to find out. I was talking to the mayor of Montevallo recently, and the back order on new trucks is as much as 2 years right now. So even if we get the award, it could be a while before we actually see the vehicle. Allie has already mentioned the Shelby County Senior Programs Grant. That's extremely helpful for our senior center, as well as the issue with getting a new contractor for the food services. Later this week on Thursday night, we have the Orchestra Partners Client Kickoff Meeting. Once again, encourage everybody to be there. Primarily, this is just the client, which is going to be us, the city council, as well as members of the planning commission and one or two other folks. This meeting is not an open to the public meeting, but later there will be an open to the public meeting. That will be at the Song Theater at 5:30 Thursday night. And it'll last about an hour. They have a presentation to sort of tell us again what the process is and get it all kicked off. And then I wanted to talk about, which Dale already mentioned, the paving status and the gas line ruptures the paving status is separate, and then there have been a lot of gas line ruptures by the sewer repair contract in and around Center Street. So it's been Goodwin Street and it's been Thompson Street, or in the intersection in that area. And Dale mentioned that they've had some significant discussions with Spire. I have just recently obtained the contact information for their government and community affairs director. I'm going to have a conversation with him as well. But the issue is the contractor called 811, as they're supposed to do before digging, and Spire has a contractor who comes out and marks the location of the gas lines. Anything I say wrong, please jump in, if you would, Dale. And I think the first gas line we broke, that we cut into when we were digging for the sewer, it was about 5 or 6 feet outside of the marked area. That was what, Monday of last week? Or was it
No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago, okay. And then lo and behold, the next day, we broke another one, and it was 12 feet beyond the marked area. And then subsequently, we had one, was that this week or last week? And then you had the one today, you said.
Last.
That's what I thought.
How far out was it?
And it was not anywhere near. I mean, they didn't mark it that area at all.
It wasn't marked at all.
And then today, I assume was it in a marked area or an outside
No,
marked area?
just the marks were on.
Okay. And so the challenge is that those old gas lines, that's in our legacy residential areas, were put in years ago when Columbiana had its own gas department. And there just aren't any records associated where those things are. And apparently, they're not of a material that would allow you to identify them with the way they normally identify the location of gas lines. Subsequently, Columbiana sold to Alagasco, and then Alagasco was acquired by Spire. And so all of the records on the location of those old legacy gas lines is a mess, and they just haven't been able to identify that. We have tried to make sure that it is not in the process, it's not a requirement to call 911. The requirement is to call Spire, which we do, but some of the residents have expressed some concern about that, so we have dispatched the fire department and we've dispatched the police department to try to block off areas and try to keep people out of it. Now, the reason we're doing those gas line repairs on Center Street is because we had an issue, which I've talked about before, on the paving of Center Street. And again, the legacy neighborhoods, legacy residential areas, streets were paved back in the day without an adequate base underneath the pavement. And Center Street was the absolute worst, I think, that we've seen. So when the contractor was out milling Center Street, they didn't get very far before they got down to dirt. And as we continued to work that area, we found that there is a really, really poor, mushy clay area underneath. And so we had to get our engineer to design a repair, which is going to cost 10 times more than what we had anticipated for the paving of Center Street. So one of the ways we're going to offset that additional cost is to, we had planned to also pave Goodwin Street this year. We're going to postpone that to next year. Since the street was torn up, Center Street, we decided good time to go ahead and repair and replace the the sewer lines that were there. And that's what's resulted in all the ruptures of the gas lines as we have worked on the sewers there. We brought in initially, I think, something like 185 tons of rock and gravel, but a lot of that stuff is washed away, been moved. We've tried to repair it, again, because that ground underneath is so poor, lots of ruts and potholes. And as you might expect, with all of this going on, the residents in that area are not happy.
Sure.
We encountered this problem with the paving in January. It took a while for the engineer to develop the appropriate repair, and because it was so expensive, we applied for a Rebuild Alabama grant, but we can't wait forever. Now, some of those grants, history tells us, are awarded in April. We're going to try to make some phone calls to see if we can't get our application to maybe move up the pile, top of the heap, if you will, to get considered. But if not, by the end of April, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and go ahead and fix Center Street. It's just too long to ask the residents to put up with this much longer. So I just wanted to give everybody an update on that. Did I say anything about the gas stuff that was incorrect, or the sewer
All
stuff?
that was correct.
Any other questions from council on that?
No, that is amazing.
Okay. Announcements.
All right, so this Friday, city offices are closed for the Friday. Saturday is the Columbiana Carrot Chase. April 15th is Touch a Truck. April 22nd is Columbiana Cleanup Day. And then in June, we'll do Farmers Market and Music on Main on Friday evenings.
There was a plan to have a farmer's market in May. Is that still going to happen?
So the one farmer who does strawberries, he'll be here in May. Yes, he'll start in May. But nobody else will have produce until June.
So will the street be shut down for that?
No, we are not going to do that. So,
He was actually out there a couple of weeks
yeah,
ago.
he's
Yeah.
going to come on Fridays and set up in the overflow lot.
Any questions for Alan? Okay, this is where we open it up to public comment. Questions from anyone?
I have a question. The picnic tables that are in the grassy area from where the parking lot at Just a Tish is and the overflow parking lot by the food truck, who who do those tables belong to?
They belong to children.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
I didn't know if they belonged to just a Tish.
So, no, they do not. I know that part I do know, but I wasn't sure if they were ours, the counties. I
Right.
thought they were the counties, and, but we'll verify that just to make sure those tables there belong to the county.
The reason I asked, I know the food trucks are there sometimes. We had talked about maybe trying to do some type of patio stone type thing to help with the grass and not having to cut under the tables and making it a little bit nicer area. But we didn't want to do that and then somebody say, oh, those are our tables and we're moving.
So the parking lot belongs to Shelby County. I'm not sure where the property line for the county extends to. So we would just need to see, the county certainly would not object to that, but it's their property. If it is their property, we would certainly need to make sure that they're aware of it and got their permission to do it. Is there something else?
We were just gonna ask for the Bar Association in Birmingham if you would politely let us take a picture of you guys for our media.
For
For the proclamation.
Oh, for the proclamation?
Proclamation.
Okay. You want to take the picture of the council?
Yes.
Okay.
Council and have, some of the bar members behind you guys if there's.
Well, sure. Come on up.
Yeah. Easy to stand up.
I think we probably ought to sit down, let them, are you gonna stand in front or in back?
I'm gonna go a little bit further back so I can get everybody in it.
Okay, and you're
Do
gonna
you
let
want me
them,
to take it so
Yeah.
that you can be in?
Well,
Yeah, we can stand in front of y'all.
okay. All right, yeah, make sure you stand where nobody can see me.
you wanna get behind them or you wanna stand out here?
You're good, I
You
think.
sure?
Yeah. You let us know if we need to move one way or the other, okay? And I'll just put the proclamation right here.
If you'll scoot in just
Me?
like.
Yeah.
Listen,
Oh, right
right here.
There we go.
Say when.
I'll take it when you say go, Alex.
Right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
How'd we do?
All right.
How we do?
All right, great. Thank you guys,
So much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Y'all have a great Easter.
right.
Two.
Are there any other comments or questions from the public? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.